Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. This is our study group for September. Is today the 13th? It's the 19th. I didn't change that. Today's the 19th, guys. It's 2024. Today we're going to be talking about facilitation techniques. It's our 136th class. This is the art of execution, and Douglas Joyner is our special guest, and Douglas Ferguson is our special guest. Felicia Joyner is going to be doing a raffle for us because she's an upcoming guest. So my name is Thea Soren. I am the president of the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter. I'm also the vice president of career and professional development, which means that I'm here to serve you. Whatever you need, reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I'll be glad to try to assist you. I'm also the founder of the BA Force Multiplier Movement. I'm one of the authors of the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, version 3, and one of the authors of Business Analysis Bridging the Gap Between Industries. So again, reach out to me on LinkedIn. We like to celebrate our wins. The folks that are listed here have reached out to us to say that because of our study group, they were able to pass their certification. Those that are in red have gone on to be leaders of other chapters. Those that are in green have gone on to be leaders of our chapter or are currently leaders of our chapter. And the one at the bottom, Promise, you can see him there. He's joined us from the UK. It is midnight there, guys. Look at that dedication. He has passed his certification, and he's going to be presenting to us on October 10th. This is our board. You can see that we have a few people that we would like to include, and we have a new board member. You can see right here, this is Olga, and you can see Olga in the attendance. She's our brand new board member. She's been with our study group for months, and we are so appreciative that she's decided to come on board and contribute to our chapter and lift people up. But we do have 3 other opportunities so that you can come on board, give as much or as little as you want, and be a member of our leadership. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. We have members from all over the world that are members of our chapter. We have other people that are active with our chapter as well. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, we can be your chapter. If we are feeding you, we can be your chapter. If someone else is feeding you, if someone else is better at it for what you need, go to them. We've given you several ways to reach out to us. This is our Thursday evening, 7 to 8 p.m. study group, Eastern time. You can reach out to us and get our meeting recordings off of YouTube. I want to draw attention to Bob's incredible index right here. It's at rpchurchill.com. Go to the Tampa Bay icon on there. He has literally put on every single topic, every single technique, every single special guest, and you can click on the link and jump to it on YouTube where it's at. It's a phenomenal amount of effort. Give him some love. We also have our IIBA Tampa Bay chapter site, which is our new site that Alicia and Esther have worked on, and we do appreciate that. It does have a list of all of the events, and we're working on to also put on their events from other organizations that we're partnering with. So you're going to have a one-stop shop of every event we can find of our partners as well as ours on that one site. Study group advisors are Esther Polinostro. She is our vice president of technology and our editor, and Bob Churchill. You can see Bob's on here somewhere. Bob has sustained an injury and he will not be participating very much tonight. So we're not going to give him much grief. But if you'd like to see his website, it is rpchurchill.com, or you can reach out to him at bob@rpchurchill.com. If you are interested in meeting people in Florida, we're looking for people that are located in different parts of Florida that want to meet in person. Reach out to me. We're looking for not only people that want to meet, but also a branch director. Being a branch director will be a leadership position that just allows you to coordinate and have some bragging rights as to being a leadership for our IIBA chapter. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or at president@TampaBayIIBA.org. Kennedy Davis is our Director of Emergency Professionals. This is a program that we have started for people in college. Wouldn't it be cool if whenever you get ready to graduate college and you're going to your first job interviews, you can say, I'm a member of a professional organization, and perhaps you could say, I've already earned my first certification with that organization. Reach out to us. We are partnering with several other associations, the Tampa Bay Women in Agile, the Tampa Bay Product Group for product owners, and then the IIBA groups out of Ireland, the Philippines, and the Bluegrass chapter. Maybe a few others to come, but these are the ones we're partnering with at the moment, and we will be putting their events on our calendar, and they will be putting our events on their calendars as well. If you are interested, yes.
Sorry, can we get Apex added to that when you give a chance, just so I don't forget?
I will. I'm going to add it to our vendor list.
Thank you.
Watermark Learning has been our constant companion throughout this entire journey. They've been giving us the ability to use their practice test questions. They've also given you a 40% off of any of their products using the code TAMPA21. Adaptive US is our new vendor partner. They've given us a similar code, 20% off of any of their products, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers, and their code is the ITBF20. So these are the certifications we typically work on, the BABOK certifications on the top or the alternative certifications on the bottom. If you're interested in any of these certifications, reach out to me. I'll be glad to walk you through them. So tonight we're going to be talking with Felicia Joyner. She's going to have a raffle for us in just a few minutes. And then we're going to be talking about facilitation techniques with our special guest, DouglasFerguson. Douglas is the leader of voltage control. I found him on a podcast, and then I started haunting him in workshops that he runs all over the country. Guys, these are the most fantastic things, and I really want you to really understand the value of learning facilitation and practicing it as an art. I was so excited about tonight. I made a second page of what we're doing tonight. This is a app and a site called Liberating Structures. Douglas is going to tell us more about that. There's also one called Session Lab, and he's going to talk more about voltage control. Next week, we've got Rachel coming to talk to us about slicing and dicing user stories. She has 27, I think, ways to slice and dice user stories. And so I want to understand what she is talking about, because user stories that are too big are a problem. User stories that are too small are a problem. Understanding how to get them just right is really an art also. On October 3rd, we have the Women in Agile and Tampa Bay Product Group going to join with us. We're going to be having lean coffee and lightning talks. And so we're going to talk about what that process is going to look like tonight. I want you to pay attention. And then on October 10th, Promise is going to be talking to us about Salesforce and the Business Analyst. And I'm looking forward to this event. So I'm going to turn the screen over to Felicia. She's going to let us do the raffle. It requires you to participate. Felicia, take it away and give us instructions. Felicia, you're on mute.
That would help.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Thea, for letting me come to talk to the chapter. Thank you so much, chapter, for listening to me. I am here because I was reached out to by Thea to come and speak to you all on October 31st. And in addition to that, I am a trainer and a coach, and I'm having an event coming up pretty soon. They'll put the flyer in the chat there. It's a 3-day intensive workshop from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. and VIP gets an extra hour, so they go from 7 to 9. And it's called Techie Dream Maker, creating the tech job of your dreams. And what I'm raffling off tonight are free VIP upgrades to this session, which will be on the 8th through the 10th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. if you don't go VIP, and then 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. if you do go VIP. And the structure's there. Let me share my screen. So that's the same flyer that you can probably see. Can you see the flyer there in the window?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. All right. Now I have a wheel to raffle off the vouchers. I'll be raffling off 5 of them, so you have a pretty good chance of winning. Does anyone see their name missing? try to get them as I saw y'all coming in. Okay, so the first lucky winner is all right, Kende, is that how you pronounce it?
Yay.
All right, Kende, put your email address in the chat, please, and I'll get that out and send you a note with your code for your free upgrade.
You can put the address to go only to Felicia if you wish. Okay.
That there. Okay, that one. Okay, the next lucky winner. That is China. Congratulations. Please send
Yay.
your email address so I can send you your code for registration.
Robert said that he would prefer not to win if it actually stops at his name.
Okay. Promise, when's the next one?
Promise in the UK, that's going to be very late. Are you okay with that?
Well, it'll be the same time as now, pretty much.
I know.
Yeah, if you want it, great. If not, I understand.
Okay.
And Robert says he does not want to win, so I'm going to remove his name. All right, that will be number 4 coming up. That's Thea. Put your name in the chat too, please, Thea.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and the last lucky winner is Olga. Please put your email in the chat also. And the rest of you, please register for the session anyhow. You know, you were lucky winners for the VIP. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you there. And I'll also see you all again on October 31st when I come back to speak here at the chapter. Thank you so much for letting me have your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Felicia. Felicia, if you could, oh, perfect. Stop sharing. I'll start sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Doug, do you want to start with saying your website or talk about Lean Coffee? I think your website would be better. What do you think?
Yeah, I can give a little background about us, and so people kind of know what I'm up to and who I am. So my name is DouglasFerguson, and I founded a company called Voltage Control. Prior to Voltage Control, I was a software developer early in my career, and then I started leading software teams, and then ultimately entire organizations building product. And the thing I realized as I was thinking about leaving the startup ecosystem and venturing into something new was that I spent a large chunk of my career passionately exploring how to help people do better work together. And a lot of my peer CTOs were so enamored with the technology that they would sometimes be doing technology for technology's sake, and they kind of lose the meat for the sauce kind of thing. and and you know, before I had the word facilitation in my vocabulary or thought about it much, I was spending a lot of time, you know, finding recipes and tools and techniques that I could bring back to my teams and help them be better collaborators, work better together, connect, and find meaning in their work. And it wasn't really clear to me until I was starting to reflect and think about what's next. And so that led to me founding Voltage Control. We're a facilitation academy. We train people on how to be facilitators and also how to take facilitation skills into your work, because a lot of times folks that are doing a number of tasks will find that facilitation skills are super important. There's so many programs out there that will tell you the importance of executive presence or presentations or this and that. And I would argue being able to bring people together to connect, to have better understanding, to collaborate better is much more effective tool to drive better outcomes than to be a salesperson to get buy-in and all these kinds of historical kinds of leadership traits, which are fine in themselves, but I think a well-rounded leader is doing all of the above. And so we work with a number of people that are in this, what I call boundary spanner space. So if you're in a position where you're gluing together various parts of the organization, you're spanning these silos in the organizations. I usually think about it as like gears or cogs in the machine, and there's some people in the organization that are the grease between these gears. And if you're one of those people, facilitation skills are like essential. And a lot of times people just find their way into it intuitively or just learn by observing. And so the idea of the program is to let's help people build those skills more intentionally. And we really believe in community as well. We spend a lot of time, and clearly y'all do as well, just hearing how you've set this up and how open you run this chapter. And we have that same spirit as well. And it's something that's been core to what I do. And so part of what Thea was just showing was community software that we use called Circle that's free to join. And it's a way of helping both our alumni have a lifelong support network, but also for those that can't afford certification or it's just not in the cards for them at the moment, how do we help democratize and socialize these skills and provide a community and a network of folks that are supporting each other? So there's a number of things we offer through that, which is that online software platform called Circle that we've created to create a place for people to answer questions, connect, learn, a number of meetups associated to that. There's regional events as well. I think we're just launching our 20th location in San Francisco, so pretty excited about that. We don't have anything in Tampa yet, but we've got some folks that have expressed interest. We've got some colleagues that work at the Dali Museum, so that's not too far down the road. And so, you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe there will be an opportunity. If you ever heard of Toastmasters before, where people get up and, you know, practice speaking, and there's like an counter, and you just learn by doing. Our regional meetups and some of our virtual ones are run in that way, where we put people in these simulations and give folks an opportunity to learn by doing. And so you can pick up these skills and techniques, or even simulate types of scenarios that you struggle with. You know, is it the over talker? Is it the person who's just pushing back on every idea? Whatever these behaviors are, or whatever these techniques are that you want to learn, these are the spaces where we bring people together to learn and grow. So all that's totally free, and we do that just to help grow the ecosystem. And then, you know, some percentage of people decide to come and train with us, and that's great because that helps pay the bills. But we also believe in democratizing access. And so anyway, I know that was long-winded, but now you've got my full spiel, and we can get into some brass tacks. I think you mentioned Lean Coffee. Is that you want to go there next, or is there something else that we should touch on first?
I do. Tell me, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I've seen it come up. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to let people know about the events that Douglas offers. It doesn't matter where you live. If it's virtual, you can join it. And I've learned something every single time I've joined. And sometimes I learn it from the event itself. Sometimes I learn it from the other people that are attending, because they're all teachers and learners, and it's so wonderful. But guys, this goes on and on. And then he has resources that are available, all kinds of stuff. So this
Are you sharing? You think you're sharing your screen, Thea?
Well, I think I am. Am I not?
I
No.
think you stopped it. It was flashing up earlier.
I'm trying.
There we go.
Okay, now you can see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of events coming up, and he's got them literally all around the country. Some of these things I think are in person. Some of these are only virtual. Some of these may be a combo. Then he's got all of these resources. So I'm giving you much more than you can consume right now. Just know that it's here, and I encourage you to dive into some of these workshops. Now let's go into talking about one of the techniques that we need to talk about, which is called Lean Coffee. Let me slideshow from current slide. Okay, can you see Lean Coffee?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Douglas, would you talk through what Lean Coffee means, please?
Yeah, so this is actually a great graphic to help you understand how it works. The technique that kind of builds upon a lot of different influences, right? There's certainly a little bit of design thinking, kind of facilitation with the post-it notes and whatnot. You know, this ethos of like one idea per sticky allows ideas to be mobile, and so you can move them and rearrange them. There's a lot of power in this visual thinking and being able to like kind of allow ideas to be mobile. They're not just stuck in a list somewhere that then we can't. What are we going to cut them out and move them around? The stickies are really powerful in that sense. And it's such a simple thing, but it has a huge impact because when our ability to rearrange, interleave, look at things differently, helps it kind of massages our brain. So that's going on here. Also, I don't is Kanban a familiar concept for folks in this group?
I think most of us have worked with Kanban in some way. Basically, it's
Okay,
a
yeah.
task list that you go across states.
Yep. And classically, you know, it came from lean manufacturing. And oddly enough, a Kanban system is like a visual kind of reminder of kind of what of a signal that something needs to be done. And so, like, if you put like, imagine you have like a row of coffee cans in your cabinet, and whenever you get to the last one and you had to order a new one, you run out of it doesn't come in time. Well, if you put a little note card or a little special label on the second to last one that reminds you to order the next one before you totally run out, that's kind of a form of Kanban system. And so this visual kind of flow of work system in a Kanban, the most simplest original form was just to do, doing, done. And so we start off with stuff in a to do column, and then we move stuff to doing while we're to acknowledge that it's in progress. And then when it's done, we move it to done. And that really helps cut out a lot of status reports because you look at it and you can say, oh, wow, like this is only there, like this is what's in progress and this is what's done. Cool, I'm good. I don't have to ask a bunch of questions or eat up time in meetings to get those answers. And another really cool piece there is you're limiting your work in progress because you don't want to be, if you've got a bunch of stuff stacked up and doing, it's like, it means you've like log jammed everything and you want to avoid it. And so you can visually see that as well. And Lean Coffee is using Kanban, but in a very, very simple sense. But it is this beauty of limiting our work in progress, but from the perspective of gathering as a group and having a conversation. So rather than having a conversation about a bunch of different things we're excited about talking about, first we're going to decide on what we're going to talk about by filling up our to-do column. And then we're going to decide what we're going to talk about. Then we move it to the doing column. So there's a very clear, distinct visual that this is the topic we're talking about. And then when we're done, we move it to done. And that creates closure. So then someone's not bringing up that topic again while we moved on to another one. So it helps focus the group and visually and remind us what we're talking about. And so first you'll create the Kanban. So you got to have your columns that the stickies are going to go into. And if you're in person, you might put up tape on a whiteboard, or if you're virtual, you might use something like Miro or Mural. I know that phonetically those are so similar. And you know, Miro was originally Real-Time Board, and they decided to rebrand to Miro. So like that was the most mind-boggling rebrand ever, to like rename yourself to your closest competitor phonetically. Anyway, they're basically visual whiteboards, but way better than something you might find in the Zoom whiteboard or like Microsoft's whiteboard, because they've got some really distinct facilitation features built in from the ground up. So there's a timer, there's a voting tool, so you don't have to like kind of scrap together this stuff on the fly. They're also meant to be a bit more durable and have a lot more people in them. So if you're doing a lean coffee, could be something to play around with too on that night if you're feeling brave, if that's not too overloading the people. So first you draw your Kanban, whether that's on a whiteboard or in one of these digital tools, or and then you start brainstorming the topics. And when you're brainstorming the topics, you typically put them in that to-do column. So you're seeing all the possible things, and any topics open for grabs. Like everyone just floods the to-do column with like all the ideas. And then you can take a moment. This here distinctly calls out the cellular topic, but oftentimes people might just put a little note on it of why that topic's interesting. So you can decide for yourself if you want to dedicate time to people like pitching the ideas or just like putting a note on it so it's clear of why you think we should talk about that. And then you prioritize. So you typically do that through dot voting. Miro and Mural both have like little voting features where you just like start a vote and then people just click on the stickies. Or you can just have people call out their favorites and then put little tick marks like this is showing. There's lots of ways that you can collect the vote, as you might imagine. And then you just use that top voted idea to move it into the doing column, talk about that. And then as a group, you can decide how long you want each conversation to be. So if you say, let's spend 5 minutes per topic. At the end of 5 minutes, you can ask yourselves, is it worth continuing this for another 5 minutes? If not, let's move it to done and go on to the next topic. And you typically go in that stack ranked order based on the votes. And then, and you generally want, it's helpful to have a facilitator. And here in this example, they're saying 10 minutes, but there's so many riffs and variations on this. It's like, because a lot of it was verbal tradition and lots of people wrote it down different ways and whatnot. So 5, 10, whatever your pleasure. Right. And then you also, it's important with anything. It's one of the tenets of facilitation. It's always debrief, because you got to give people time. I know there's some learning folks and training folks here. You've got to give people time for the metacognition. They have to reflect on what happened to formalize real memories and to integrate knowledge and to think about what it means, what the significance of it is, and just engage in that sense making. And so taking the time to capture that stuff. And I love the phrase lock in the learning, because I think so often people get focused on action items and like, outcomes and all this. But it's like, what are the lessons here? What are the insights? What are the key things we want to capture that help with our growth? I think that's a real nice reframing for any meeting. So I think so often we get so focused on the doing and like versus how can we be more?
I agree. Thank you, Doug. One of the things I really love about Lean Coffee is the ideas come from the audience. So if we have a broad topic, we're on October 3rd, we're going to be talking with the folks that are Women in Agile and the product owner group. So we have a broad topic of anything Agile, pretty much, or software development with product owners, or what do you want to learn about? So the ideas are going to come from you. What do you want to talk about, or what are you prepared to talk about? And then we will prioritize them as a group. So it's like, if you're interested in something that no one else in the group wants to talk about, we probably won't be talking about it during that meeting. However, if you propose something that really strikes a chord with people, or people like, I've heard that, but I don't really know what it means. So they upvote it. Then we actually bring the most value to the most people using this technique. Douglas, I really like the way that you talked about lock in the learning. I've recently, I teach the CBAP, our highest certification courses, over and over and over. And I've just recently started saying, if you get an epiphany, if you learn something, write it down. Because at the end of the meeting, it's like, I learned a whole lot during that meeting, but you can't remember what it was. We've got to write down those learnings as we do them. We've got to lock them in. We've got to process it. We might need to talk about it, but
yeah, verbalizing is really great. Think about when you leave a movie and you're walking out with your friend and you're sharing the moments that you enjoyed the most.
Mm-hmm.
That locks in those memories. If you do that exiting the movie, you're going to remember those will be the scenes and the moments you remember the most, because you shared those stories immediately after. So we'll bake that in our workshops a lot. Just this moment of reflection and discussion, maybe even groups of 2. They're just like, what surfaced for you? What are you going to do in the next day, next week, next month, that sort of thing.
Right. So in preparation for the October 2nd meeting, those of you who are present today, you get an advantage. Go ahead and start sending me what you want to talk about for Lean Coffee with the Agile guys out of Tampa Bay. What I want to do is I want to get at least 5 or 6 of really good topics so that we can have them. I don't want to wait until the beginning of the meeting and then hope somebody brings me some topics. So please give me as many topics as you want. I'm going to organize them so that if I get several topics that are the same, I'll identify. I got this submitted 3 different ways. And then whenever we start that meeting, we will go over. If you have something you want to talk about Agile, uh, the women in Agile were like, we need people to be able to step up and do a lightning talk, talk for 5 minutes and explain something. If you're interested in that, please contact me on LinkedIn and we'll get that arranged for you. Just being able to say that I spent 5 minutes talking about something I'm passionate about to a leadership organization in my profession is a pretty cool thing. So I want to facilitate that for you. Do we have any questions about Lean Coffee? Has anyone used Lean Coffee? Okay. This is one of those things that literally the first few times feels kind of like, okay, I'm walking through steps and it's a little awkward. But whenever you see that people are able to talk about what's important to the most people in the group, it makes it worthwhile to spend the time. And it's a really effective technique. Let's go on to this one, Liberating Structures. Liberating Structures is an app that you can look at. I actually did screenshots of the app off my phone because it was so well laid out. Doug, this has I think it's like 36 different techniques in it. But what I was excited about whenever I first found it is each one of these techniques not only tells you how long it would take, but it tells you what its goal is. So if you have a specific goal, you can walk through this and go, here's one that will help me reach my goal. Doug, what do you like on this page?
Well, the one thing, a couple of things just to note. There's a tool called the Matchmaker, which is like a great way of, because here they talk about the benefit. The Matchmaker on one side tells you about a scenario and you flip it over. So you find a scenario that's similar to what you're in, and then you kind of flip it over and look at the exact spot on the other side, and there's the method. So that can be kind of fun. You do have to print it out, but we also made a free resource called Liberating Structures and When to Use Them, because we found the scenarios in the Matchmaker sometimes unrelatable for folks, especially folks that are not in like public health or fields that involve a lot of mental health kind of stuff, because that's where a lot of their early traction was rooted. So the other thing I'll say about Liberating Structures, because it's a strange name, but if you kind of understand their philosophy, the name becomes more clear. So they have this belief that most of the time when we gather to meet and do things, we default into certain ways of working, or we structure ourselves in certain ways. And these default conventional structures are not very liberating. And so they have you can find it on their website. I'll just tell you really quickly because it's really important to understand the idea of liberating structures is that there's a 2x2 matrix. And on one axis, you're looking at the distribution of control of information. So a presentation is one of our conventional structures. There is very little distribution of control. There's one person in control of the content. I'm in control of what I'm saying right now. Y'all just sit back and listen, right? Liberating structure seeks to maximize control of content. So liberating structure, Lean Coffee is an example of that. We are distributing control of what we're talking about, right? The other axis is the distributing, shaping of power, shaping of decision making. So in a presentation, like I'm choosing what to say next, so there's no choice. So there's content, and then there's like future solution, future action, control, and all liberating structures seek to maximize both those things. And so on this page, a couple things to point out. There's 3 on here that are really great. 1, 2, 4 all is a really simple structure where you ask people to quietly reflect. You're coming back to that metacognition that I was talking about earlier. That's really important for integrating and for people to get boot up and get their thoughts flowing. And then you combine them into groups of 2. to sift and sort and combine their ideas. And then those groups of 2 fold into groups of 4. And then the groups of 4 can then talk in plenary with everyone together. If you want to, it can shift the type of prompt or situation where you have a prompt and get crickets back to like loud, like very engaged conversation really quickly. Critical uncertainties is a 2x2, coming back to that consulting 2x2, but you work with the group to define a list of critical things that will have a undeniable impact on the outcome of the project, but they're uncertain, they're unknowable. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. Until today, we didn't know the feds were going to drop rates. So like yesterday, a critical uncertainty could be like, well, are they going to drop rates, right? Or is it going to be easy to hire people? Or is it going to be hard to hire people? So we're thinking about these spectrums of these, what is critical to moving forward with this project, but we don't know yet. And so you make a list and you pick the 2 that are going to have the biggest impact, or you just pick 2 at random because you can do this multiple times. And then you look at the quadrants and you say, all right, well, what happens if I get this combination or that? So you're looking at all 4 combinations of these 2 critical uncertainties, a little of this, a lot of that, a lot of both, a little of both. And you start to think about your strategies.
Sorry, so this sounds very close to what is called risk analysis in BABOK, right? Thea, am I correct?
Yes,
So
I was
in
just thinking, he's talking about risk analysis. That's our terminology for it. But
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
identifying the unknowns and what's
Not
possible.
only my impression. Okay.
Yeah,
You're right.
So, yep. So you, I think one thing that's interesting about this liberating structure is that there's some specific steps about how you include everyone in the doing of it, which is, I think, different than what a lot of classic like techniques in this regard would look like. And then the other thing that I think is kind of neat that I haven't seen in other places is once you fill out each quadrant, then you look across all the quadrants and you say, what is my hedging strategy? What strategy do I feel strongly I need to do, even if these other things don't turn out? And then my robust strategies are the ones that show up everywhere, or there's like analogous things in each of the quadrants, and it's like, well, we'd be really silly not to do those things because clearly they work, or there's some similarity around all of them. So I think those are, I don't know if they show up in those concepts show up elsewhere, but I think that's pretty neat that they have those specific call outs. 2510 is a really fascinating one if you have a really large group and want to tap into the wisdom of the crowd. There's some randomization of voting, and then you kind of surface up the top voted stuff after about 5 rounds of voting. So if you ever have a really big kind of conference setting, that's a fun one to look at.
Okay, you ready to go to the next page?
Yeah. Let's see. Eco-cycle planning is a fascinating one. This is this idea of mapping your project or product portfolio on this what they call the eco-cycle, which you can see the symbol there is this figure 8. And so it's this idea of like birth, maturity, destruction, renewal that things go through in nature. And then if you think about mapping your projects on this continuum, you know, is it a brand new project that's just getting started and everyone's really excited about it, or is it that crazy TPS report that everyone hates and has outlived its usefulness and we really need to destroy it and rethink it, you know? So it's really helpful as a group just to map things out and see where there's agreement, where there's disagreement. Because where there's conflict, that's where we should move and have dialogue to understand the drivers of why people think differently. And then on the extremes, on each edge, you have 2 traps. You have the rigidity trap and the poverty trap. So if you got something stuck in maturity that you really need to, like that TPS report, you need to blow up, that's sitting in your rigidity trap. So it's good to like identify those things and point out like, hey, we're being too rigid to let these things go. And then our poverty trap are things that are in renewal, but we're not rebirthing them. It's kind of like that log in the forest that's decayed, but somehow it's like not, it doesn't quite have the conditions for the new sapling sprouting. And so if we have stuff in our, and that's called the poverty trap, the stuff sitting over there, we're not investing in getting that stuff off the ground. So you can imagine if you map the stuff out and visually see that, look, we got all this stuff in the rigidity trap, we got this stuff in the poverty trap. What if we let go of these things? What does it free up to invest over here? So that's a really fun way to think about portfolios and things that we're working on as a group. So I'll talk about heard, seen, and respected, because that's like a whole different kind of activity, because I've been talking about some of the strategic ones. Heard, seen, respected is really about gathering together and in small groups, hearing stories about when people have felt heard, seen, and respected. So you listen with empathy and curiosity as people share how these moments that surface for them. And then when you come back into debrief and dialogue, it's a way of learning about what people value intrinsically. And then teams can get a lot more connected around supporting each other, because we realize, wow, if this is what it takes for them to be seen, heard, and respected, I can certainly do those things. I just had no clue that that's what it is. And it's it can work wonders for people to share these kind of positive stories and then think about how we reinforce and replicate that. What do we got on the next page?
Let me talk about heard, seen, and respected real quick.
Yeah, of course.
We talk about the 5 love languages and how to show appreciation, how people need to receive appreciation. This is a great way to get people to tell you what's important to them without saying, hey, would you rather me bake you a pizza or, make a pizza with you? You don't have to ask them these weird questions, and they tell you it was really impactful to me whenever she remembered me from her trip and she brought me this thing. That's gifts. That's their love language. Now you know. But
it's way easier for folks to tell stories.
Yes. And you get to know each other. Them telling you the story means y'all have shared experience. You get to build trust. It's hugely impactful. Okay, let's go to the next page.
Oh, so open space technology is really similar to what y'all are doing with Lean Coffee. It's just more sophisticated. Not that Lean Coffee is not sophisticated, it's just more sophisticated. It's like more moving parts. It's more particular. There's some steps around setting up a marketplace, and people are out actually presenting and pitching, which you don't, there was a step on your graphic where it was a little bit of a pitch. That doesn't always show up in Lean Coffee, but in open space, there's a very specific step, and it's how it's done. And then also people split up. If there's enough support for an idea, you split up into breakout groups. So people go to the place that they want to learn more about. And there's also this thing they call the law of 2 feet, which a lot of people have rebranded to the law of mobility, because not everyone has 2 feet. And it's a way of saying that, hey, if you go somewhere and you realize, oh wait, I didn't quite grok what they meant by this topic, but now I see what they meant, what direction they're going in, I'm going to go over to my second choice now. And so you'll see people kind of moving around. Or maybe you're just the butterfly. Maybe you're the type of person that likes to roam around and just get little bits of everything. And you're totally allowed to do that. And then there's generally a moment where you come back and there's some sharing, debrief of what happened afterwards. So one thing you'll notice with liberating structures, there's always debrief components built in to all the steps. Triz is another one of my favorites. It is really nice to pair with the eco-cycle we just talked about, because it is a creative destruction activity. And so if you identify stuff in you can put it before or after. If you do it before eco-cycle, you might prime people to be more willing and more tuned or open to the idea of creative destruction before you start getting into mapping things and pointing out that maybe we should blow it up. Or you could do it after, because the eco-cycle could point out those things that need to blow up, and then let's practice blowing some stuff up. So I'm a real big fan of lateral thinking and getting people to do the inverse of what we want. So if you want people to come up with great ideas, have them generate a list of the ideas that'll get us fired, or the worst possible ideas, because it's really playful and it unlocks kind of that child's mind, right? We all start laughing and we start throwing out crazy stuff. But then what happens when you like invert those ideas? If we're like inverted the prompt and we came up with a bunch of stuff, now let's invert the ideas. And what kind of like weird triangulation does that take us to? That our brains were maybe tricking us into saying, because it was like maybe someone was too afraid to suggest like, let's go do this thing because the boss has shut it down a bunch, or it's really expensive or whatever, right? And so this inversion allows us to go places that we will protect ourselves from. And I'm kind of hinting at psychological safety there. If you haven't read it, Amy C. Edmondson's book, The Fearless Organization's great. She's the one that coined the term psychological safety. It'll blow your mind when you read this book. You're like, wow, the story is like a nurse not speaking up to the doctor, even though she knew this newborn needed a special medicine to save its life, because she was worried that the doctor would reprimand her. And it's like, I mean, that's just how our brains work. And so if it happens in that level of severity, it's happening in everyday meetings and moments. So the way TRIZ works, we talk about something, we identify something we want to make better. So like, let's say we want this it's called a study group, right? We want the study group to be amazing, and we want it to attract people all over the globe. So then what we do with TRIZ is we would say, okay, let's make the study group as unattractive to people around the globe so that no one shows up, and if people do, they have a horrible time. So basically we inverted our purpose and our goal, and then we just make a list of things like, how can we ensure that we're utterly like failures at our mission? And people always, I mean, it just lends itself to bringing up absurd stuff. Like, let's I don't know, let's point a strobe light at our camera, so whenever someone joins the Zoom, they're getting like, seizures or whatever. I don't know, you just let's blast death metal or whatever, right? So then, I don't know, the death metal thing, right? Like, well, oh, wow, we hadn't thought about having real music. What if we had intro music? Would that make stuff nice? Maybe it's not death metal, but maybe it's something pleasing. Or wait, the strobe light, that's crazy, but like, what have we thought about our lighting? Does it make it more appealing? So the point is like, the lateral thinking can help in those ways. But in the case of TRIZ, we make a list of all the things that we could do to make this thing horrible. And then round two is we look at the things that we listed, and we say, what are we doing today that resembles any of that? So we might not be pointing a strobe light at the camera, but like, what are we doing that's like maybe just feels awkward, or like, that might resemble it. And then we come up with a list of things we're going to stop doing. And this is really important, because so often we're quick to like come up with all these new innovations. Like, we're going to add this thing, we're going to do this, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. We don't have time to do any of it. So the TRIZ is about identifying those counterproductive behaviors that we're going to squash, minimize, remove. And there's a really cool liberating structures mantra, which is specifically around TRIZ. When you create space, innovation rushes in. So rather than come up with a giant list of innovation, let's just remove the stuff that's not working and just see what naturally takes root. So it's sort of like that eco cycle again, right? Let's blow this stuff up, so then the fertile ground, so then that rotting log, and then the sapling can sprout. So we don't have to force that sapling. We don't have to come up with what it is. It'll naturally emerge as long as we remove all the barriers. So that's TRIZ.
What a wonderful agile idea. I love that. Ready for the next page?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I've seen you use Wise Crowds for several workshops.
Yeah, Wise Crowds is great. Troika Consulting, also great. So they're kind of close siblings. So Troika Consulting is really fun. So you do this with a group of 3 people, and you ask in each group, you usually do 3 rounds. So each person gets to like be, there's a special role called the client, and the other 2 people are consultants. So in a group of 3, if you do 3 rounds, each person gets to be the client once. And the client's job is to think about, I have a challenge or a problem or something I'm struggling with. And if you're using it with a group or a team that has shared understanding or shared perspective, then you can kind of theme it so that like they're picking their challenge as it relates to, I don't know, you're talking about agile soon. So that you could say, what is your top agile implementation problem or challenge, right? It doesn't, you don't have to just be, what is your, just any random challenge. You can kind of scope it down and theme it if you want. And then the client thinks about what that is for them. And then there's a cadence of like timing where, or a sequence of timing where it's about a minute where they're sharing their problem, and about 2 minutes where the consultants are asking clarifying questions. So we're like, okay, that's interesting what you told me about this problem, but let me understand this better. Can you tell me about this? Give me a little bit more. Have you talked to your boss about this? You know, it's like all these kind of just like all these like contextual pieces that they might need to know. After the clarifying questions, the client turns their back to their consultants. And in virtual, we generally have people in breakout rooms, and we tell them to turn their camera off. So that's a way of turning your back. But don't turn off your speakers because you want to eavesdrop. Point is like they can't see your facial expressions when you're telling them stuff they don't want to hear. Like when you're wincing, like most people stop, right? But we don't want to do that. We want to keep that advice flowing and let it be rapid fire. And you get just a wash of advice. And the two consultants spend about 5 minutes just like talking about anything that comes to mind to solve your challenge. And then you come back after 5 minutes, turn on your camera, and you just talk about what was useful at that point. You kind of debrief it together. You know, imagine getting advice for 5 minutes and you think, what could I learn in 5 minutes? Everyone always walks out going, my mind was totally blown. I've been stuck on this for like 6 months and I've got 2 things I can go try. Sometimes it's stuff they already thought about, but they got renewed confidence because they listened to the consultants talk about it. And imagine if they were in dialogue with those 2 people and they're like, yeah, I already tried that. Right? But didn't hear that little nuance they needed to hear because the consultants kept talking because they weren't interrupted with the already tried that. Right. And so that's Troika, but Wise Crowds is different. So instead of like one person sharing a challenge, the whole group would like get ask clarifying questions, get context, and then they just start brainstorming solutions around the challenge. And also there's this roaming aspect of Wise Crowds when you do it in a big group setting where like you might have like 3 different people with challenges, and then the little band of consultants moves from group to group like every, I think, 15 minutes. So that's pretty fun. I think that's probably good.
When we've done this during the workshops, people literally come up with, I've written out 8 things that I'm going to be able to go do whenever I get back to the office. And whenever they first started presenting their problem, they were hopeless. It was so exciting. But the technique makes you use both sides of your brain. It helps you use your analysis, and turning your back or turning your camera keeps you from stopping the flow of information so you can hear the next thing. And if you're taking notes instead of responding, you're not trying to say, well, I've got to think about what I need to say back to him and stop listening to him. So it's a very effective, exciting thing to do. Anything else on this page, Doug, or anything else you want to say about Wise Crowds?
Wow, they're all so good. I will say what I need from you is really fascinating. It could be fascinating for y'all in this corporate context because it's really helpful for leadership retreat kind of settings where you've got a lot of leaders or people from different departments. And what you do is you kind of define the functional groups that are most important for your organization. And then you break people up and you split them up into groups, and each group is assigned a functional group. And typically people aren't organized by the functional group they actually are in the org. So for instance, like you'll have a random group of marketers and engineers and product people and analysts and whatever. But that group in this activity is assigned one of the functions in the org. So that the group might be the marketing group. There might be only one marketing person in there. It might be none, right? And you might intentionally say, we're going to organize these people so nobody in their function is in this group. The group for assign that function. And what they do is they come back, and each group is charged with the task of making a list of requests for the other departments. So here's what I need from you. So each group, so marketing is saying, what do I need from engineering? Marketing is saying, what do I need from operations? Marketing is saying, what do I need from HR? And then each group, each function selects a delegate, and they send a delegate to the center of the room where they share their requests. And there's only 3 allow responses to each request. Okay, no, and huh? And the delegate takes the response back to their group, and they decide if they're going to alter their request or not. And man, talk about cross-functional empathy and understanding and starting like, because you're looking at the functions you're not a part of and thinking about like, what does this function need from this other function, and then watching how the functions respond in this really kind of very simulated way. You know, this isn't real work, so it's not, you don't get totally upset about it, right? It's really easy to get emotional when like you've been working on a project forever and someone derails it, right? But if it's just this exercise, it's a lot easy to be more introspective about it. So anyway, really great one.
Very nice. I think that is the end of, yep, that's the end of everything out of Liberating Structures. So let me explain. Liberating Structures is a website. It's got a lot of resources on it. It's also an app on your phone. On your phone, it has that menu that I showed you. And then if you click on one, it opens it up and explains how to use it. So it gives you the step-by-step on how to use it. So that's Liberating Structures. We also mentioned Miro and Mural. If you haven't tried them, I pick one. It almost doesn't matter which one you pick. I would suggest you find out if your organization is using one and pick that one, and then go learn it, because it's incredibly versatile. There's no limit to what it can do, and you can share the screen with other people and have them make inputs and make changes on it. And there are templates on it that give you ideas that you would never have had on your own. So I encourage you to go look at those.
Here, I'm gonna do a solid. I just made a mural just because I don't know why. I will say I think Mural has better free plans than Miro does, and I definitely echo that if your company's already using it, might as well start there because it's the path of least resistance. I just made this board. You'll be able to get in there and edit and do things. You won't have any of the facilitation tools like the timer or the voting tool and whatnot, because I would have to turn that on and run a voting session. But you could at least like create stickies and move stuff in and type stuff in it. So you got to feel conceptually a little bit more about what it is. So anyway,
So you do have to create.
I think you can go back and hit join as a visitor if you want to show them how not get in without an account. See that view as a visitor? Yep. Yep. And then you can just stay a visiting shrimp, or you can put your name in.
It will assign you visiting something. So I'm just going to put in Thea here and view as a visitor. Yep. And look, you see other people are in here. You can hit control and scroll in and out like this. Right click on your mouse to move things around. And then there's templates in here, right, Doug?
Yeah, you can create your own pretty easily, or even just like say you've got a PDF that you like to use a lot. You could drop the PDF in as a background and lock it, and then put stuff over top of it.
Right.
Yeah, and they have built-in ones. Yeah, you're already pulling in some stuff, and we built a lot of templates too that are available in that resources section you shared earlier.
I encourage you to,
you know, just so I'll show you voting really quick, just so y'all can, because I've been talking about it. Now you can just see it. So, here, just that way, since you're sharing your screen, even people that aren't in there, anyone in the mural now should be able to click on a sticky to vote.
It says I've got 1 vote left, so I'm going to vote on this sticky. It shows how many votes it has. You have to sign in to vote. You can't not sign in and then say, but you didn't count my vote. You got to sign in to vote. But this is incredibly powerful. It's a tool that's now in your toolbox, but like facilitation, it's an art. You're gonna have to learn how to use it well so that you can achieve it. And look, we now can see which ones have the highest votes, put them in the order of the highest votes, and this is what we'll probably be using on October 3rd so that we can do Lean Coffee and vote them up and etc. Okay, we are at the end of our time. Douglas, thank you so much for this. You were one of my superheroes for facilitation, and I wanted the BAs to know that facilitation, even though whenever I helped write the BABOK, we used facilitation as a term, and it was a term. It's now a lot more and a lot better, and we can manage our people a lot better if we have those tools. So, any last words, Douglas?
Hey, it was great to be here, and I appreciate you welcoming me into your community and be able to share some of my favorite stuff. Highly encourage you to dive into facilitation skills. I think it is a leadership skill of the future, and the more and more AI becomes embedded in our work, the more facilitation is going to be needed to lean into the humanity of our work. So, highly encourage you all to learn and join us on this ride.
Absolutely. Folks, I haven't given y'all very much time to talk today. I apologize for that. But if you do have any questions or concerns and you want to communicate those to me, LinkedIn is the best way to contact me. I look forward to next week. Let's see. I forgot what we're doing next week. I got so excited about this week. Next week is Rachel Wilterdink. Rachel is going to talk about user stories and how to split them, how to combine them. She has done some fantastic stuff. In fact, if you go to her website, her writing, I will say this intentionally, her writing is effervescence. I mean, she's clean, it's sparkling, it's beautiful. I encourage you to go check out her stuff and then come and visit with us next week, and we'll work on that. The week after that, we have the Lean Coffee Lightning Talks with the Women in Agile for Tampa Bay. And then, of course, Promise is going to talk about Salesforce and the business analyst. He has talked about this a couple of times for a couple of other organizations. So I know that it's going to be a good talk. Okay, guys, see you later. Reach out if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.